I'm gonna get behind the wheel of a car and drive it as fast as I can through an obstacle course and see if I can do it.
Go. I want 50 miles an hour with no brakes till I tell you. Hold 50, hold 50, hold 50.
Okay, here we go.
Wait. Now, brakes now.
Where's the chronic? Yeah. Where's the chronic? Where's the chronic? Yeah. Where's the chronic?
Traffic fatalities in the US have seen their biggest spike in 50 years, while the number of drunk drivers on the road have fallen. Some officials in pot-legal states are concerned that stone drivers are filling that void and could be contributing to this surprising uptick. While reliable weed breathalyzers have yet to be developed, several states have implemented THC blood limits akin to alcohol's 0.08 to prevent and punish stone drivers. But is increased access to pot really jeopardizing the safety of our roads? To find out just how big of an issue stone driving really is, I've come to Weed Legal Washington State to meet Greg Osman, a medical marijuana patient who was recently arrested and charged for driving under the influence of pot. All right, so what do we do now?
We get untangled.
Easier said than done. Here we go.
So you can kind of just ease back and then.
Tell me about your injury, like why you're a medical marijuana patient.
When I was a kid, I suffered a sports injury playing baseball. Basically, I threw my arm out, what they call it was capsular shift. I had a pretty invasive surgery. And they cut me all the way to the top of my shoulder and then pull all my muscles and tendons back up to keep my shoulder in place.
And what have the consequences been having had that surgery?
Chronic pain, just all the time. It's something that I'm gonna have to deal with the rest of my life. I've tried just about everything, Vicodin, oxycodone. When I was on opiates, my mom always called me a mean person. And, when my mom tells me, I believe her. So, medical marijuana has really helped me a lot.
And how often do you smoke?
On average, like a full joint a day.
What does that do to you the rest of your day?
Being a patient that's been smoking for a long time now, I'm completely functional.
Earlier this year, Greg was pulled over for speeding, a charge police would later drop. But according to his arresting officer, Greg was noticeably impaired. His blood was taken, which later returned results well over Washington's drug driving limit. So right around here is kind of where it all happened?
Yeah, right here on I-5, on a slanted turnoff, being blown over basically by traffic and big semis. As soon as he asked me to start doing field sobriety tests, that's when my heart started racing. When it comes to standing on my foot and holding it, it's like, it felt like he was asking me to do something that I wasn't gonna be able to do, sober or not.
Had you smoked pot, like at any point during that day prior to your arrest?
Not for hours before I got in the vehicle. My number one thing is always being cautious on the road. So if I'm impaired at any level, I'm not gonna get behind the wheel. It's just something that I know not to do.
Greg's version of the story doesn't seem so far-fetched. He smoked a joint that morning and felt good to drive hours later. But if he thought he wasn't stoned, why did the police officer think he was? To find out how cops decide to arrest someone suspected of stone driving, I've come to Linwood, Washington, to ride along with Officer Mark Brinkman, who's received national attention for making upwards of 240 DUI arrests in a single year, 10 times the average cop. So, Officer Brinkman, how did you get into specializing in DUI and sort of drug recognition cases?
When I was working in Allen County, there was an incident where a car went by, came to a stop sign, and then peeled out, and it was like a prom night or some kind of high school dance. And so I decided not to stop the car. A few hours later, I got a call of an accident. The car I'd seen earlier at the stop sign crashed. The passenger had been ejected out the window, and she had a massive head injury. And I was holding her head, and she's bleeding all over me, and she'd come to and scream. And turns out the driver was like a 0.18 alcohol level.
Oh, wow.
So had I stopped it 2 hours earlier, I would have arrested the driver undoubtedly, and that 16-year-old girl wouldn't have died that night. 150 on the highway.
Oh, what's going on here?
This guy was just driving northbound in the southbound lane. Hi. Have you had some alcohol to drink?
No.
Use marijuana?
Never.
Never marijuana?
That's who it's registered to.
He's not impaired. He's kind of lost. His speech was clear. His eyes weren't watery or bloodshot. No odor of marijuana. Not often someone drives the wrong way on a highway and not be impaired, but
Right. I thought that was a shoe-in. What are the differences between people who are impaired who have smoked cannabis and people who drink alcohol?
THC is such a different acting drug that the high for marijuana is much more of a psychological effect as far as the impairment as opposed to physical. They don't correlate the head high to, hey, I can't drive safe.
1924.
Okay, we'll come and check it out. Another officer has a car stopped, believes he's likely impaired by maybe cannabis, maybe not. He was driving without any headlights on, cut some other vehicles off multiple times. Overall, bad driving. Your eyes are kind of hazy red. You use marijuana recreationally or medically or what?
I do not use marijuana.
I want to do a couple things just to make sure you're okay to drive.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hold your head still with your eyes only hold my finger, okay?
1, 2, 3, 1004, 1005, 1006.
Right? Do you remember the instructions?
Sorry.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place you under arrest for DUI.
You're joking, right?
Well, no, so we're going to the station and I'm gonna do some more tests with you there. And then ultimately we'll have to do a blood test. You think a blood test is gonna come up completely clean?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we'll find out.
I've come back to the Linwood Police Station with Officer Brinkman, who's going to process the driver he just arrested.
All right, have a seat there, Ray.
Because this driver failed the field sobriety tests and is suspected of being under the influence of a drug, not alcohol, Officer Brinkman will conduct a more extensive evaluation to determine what drugs, if any, he may be on.
So what time would you guess it is right about now?
How long would you say the whole being pulled over thing took?
Well, I'm asking you.
I'd say probably about 8.
About 8? All right. I'm gonna look at your pupils. We're going to another room over there.
If so much hinges upon what you can see in the field and hear back at the station, what are these tests? Like, how are they developed?
Well, we're talking about different things because there's a field sobriety test that were really developed for alcohol. And then the DRE protocol, doctors were involved in developing the DRE program. If you ingest a drug, in this case cannabis, what's that going to do physiologically? Well, cannabis raises the pulse rate. Cannabis will raise blood pressure. Cannabis will cause eyelid tremors and large muscle group tremors. And so the DRE protocol is accepted in every state to ascertain if someone's impaired by a drug. You see back there? In this case, I believe he's impaired by cannabis. And so now another officer's taking him to the hospital in Everett to draw his blood. If the blood comes back with nothing in it, it's a more defendable case for sure.
A blood test is the last step to confirm Officer Brinkman's suspicions. According to Washington State's per se law, if a driver has 5 or more nanograms of THC per milliliter of blood, he or she is automatically deemed impaired. Given everything I've seen, I'm curious how one builds a defense against a green DUI. So I'm going to meet Douglas Hyatt, a civil rights attorney who's taking on Greg Osmond's case. He's preparing to challenge the constitutionality of the per se law after Greg's THC levels came back at 22 nanograms.
If you could explain what the next steps are for his case.
Well, in this case, we will run all the constitutional arguments that we have. We will bring all of our weapons to the street fight, and we will take this case all the way up. You've got to know when you're violating the law. There's no way that a driver can know whether they're over the 5 nanogram limit or not. That's one constitutional problem. Due process, 14th Amendment, blah, blah, blah. The other problem is police power. When they establish a limit and make you go to jail over it, they have to have a rational basis for that. We want to look at the scientific evidence for the 5 nanogram limit, of which there is none.
It's just an arbitrary rule.
Complete bullshit.
While marijuana can stay in the body for around 30 days, testing blood for unmetabolized active THC is said to show use within just a few hours. But in heavy users, active THC can linger days after the high has worn off. And how stoned people get from the same amount of THC varies widely, making it impossible to pin universal impairment on a THC level like 5 nanograms. Furthermore, the drug recognition evaluation mainly consists of physiological tests, which only determine whether the driver has taken a drug, not whether that drug is getting them 2 blades to drive. And while the field sobriety tests attempt to measure impairment, they were developed for alcohol, and there's scant scientific evidence to support their reliability for pot. So what at first appears to be mounting evidence proving a drug-induced traffic violation actually bursts into a cloud of scientifically unsound assumptions.
They have a good impairment standard for alcohol with a lot of science behind it. They don't with marijuana. But what they're doing is acting like they do, and that's what's wrong.
If Greg had to do it all over again, what would your advice have been to him?
He couldn't have done a goddamn thing to avoid what happened to him. He's a medical marijuana patient. He has to take his medicine. It's like me. I got to get up in the morning and, not surprisingly, take my blood pressure medication, right? If I don't, I'm in trouble. So they decide to criminalize my blood pressure medication. What do? Wait till I get home to take it, stop taking it, have a stroke. What can he do? The law criminalizes every single patient in the state before any driving ever occurs. There's nothing he can do. That's the point.
So I'm headed back east, and I'm going to meet up with Dr. Michael Milburn. He's a psychology professor at UMass, and he's been trying to crack the code on how stoned is too stoned to drive. So now it's my move. I have to confess, I'm not a very good chess player. Is it at all like driving?
Quite a bit. You have to keep a lot of things in mind. You have to anticipate what the other cars are going to do, what your opponent's going to do.
Check.
Pressuring you there.
So how did you get into pot?
Well, marijuana legalization is on the ballot in Massachusetts. One of the biggest arguments against legalization is that there's no way to measure impairment. And as a quantitative psychologist, I began to wonder, how do you do that? So I developed this app called Druid that measures impairment. Using Druid on a regular basis, they can track their baseline, which can measure how your sort of normal function operates. If they're impaired, then the app can compare your reaction time to your baseline. It will give the user tools to self-assess, to make a decision, oh, gee, maybe I'll wait now before I drive.
I'd love to see the app.
Oh, I got it right here. There's 4 tasks.
Task 1, square equals square, circle equals oval. Square, circle. Okay.
What Druid does is demonstrate that measuring impairment is possible in a fair and accurate way.
All right, balance. Stand on your right leg, hold it in my left hand, 30 seconds. What benefit does it have to have the onus be on the user rather than, say, on the cops?
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Instead of trying to focus on catching people who have done something wrong, I want to try to prevent them from getting in the car in the first place. Okay, all right, so.
Oh, shit.
Check me.
Washington State's 5 nanogram THC blood limit may be inaccurately saddling pot-smoking drivers with DUIs. So I'm meeting up with senior prosecutor Amy Friedheim to find out why these imperfect laws are still in place.
This is the most preventable homicide, bar none. There is no reason to drive impaired, period.
When you're determining whether a driver is at fault, do you ever consider whether they're a medical marijuana patient?
No, because if you're impaired in our state.
To me, it all sort of sounds a little confusing, right? Like there is an arbitrary limit of how much pot can be in your system, plus, an evidence of impairment, which is a cop's word against yours, basically. And we're just sort of figuring out how this all works in this new weird world of legal pot.
With legalization, we see a lot more people in their cars driving impaired. They've killed people. I can think of a case where the driver swerved into a bicyclist on a shoulder and killed him. I mean, people tend to say, oh, well, it's not alcohol. Oh, it's safer. But it's an impairing drug.
What it sort of sounds like to me is that if you're a medical marijuana patient, you probably just shouldn't drive.
We could make all different laws. But we don't want to live in a society that is that strict. We want to have people who are not impaired to be able to drive their car.
So even as a prosecutor of people who kill people because of impaired driving, you still think that like we should try to figure out a way that people can use pot responsibly and get behind the wheel?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I venture to suggest that you know if you're impaired. It's your responsibility. You know if you should be driving or not.
While it's impossible to know if you're at the 5 nanogram limit, it seems reasonable to be able to tell if you yourself are too stoned to drive safely. However imperfect, these are the only tools that both public servants and citizens currently have to determine impairment. As a regular pot smoker, I want to see if I can tell where to draw the line. So I've come to Pacific Raceways to test my own ability driving super stoned. And I'm going to meet Don Kitch Jr., a veteran motorsports professional and a high-performance driving instructor, who will guide me through this course designed to test functions impacted by marijuana. What is going to be most affected by me getting stoned?
Peripheral vision will be highly impaired, and your ability to make decisions in a short period of time.
What means that I'm doing a good job and what means that I'm doing a bad job?
Don't hit stuff.
Before I drive high, I'll do a test run stone cold sober.
All right, I want to see a steady 30 miles an hour with smooth, fluid, rhythmic carving through these gates. Maintain 30 miles an hour all the way through the gates, please. Steady throttle. Good. Okay. You see the light on the right side of the car, move to the left.
Good, that's right. So I'm going to move to my left a little bit.
Good, good, I like it. Eyes way out ahead of the car. Look to where you're going. Eyes way up, way out ahead of the car. Nicely done. All right, accelerate up to 50 miles an hour for me, please.
Holy cow.
When I tell you to stop, I want you to fully use the brakes and stop the car in this box. Brakes now.
Whoa, fuck. Yes,
Perfect.
I did it.
Well done, mate, I like it. Now, we're gonna come to a slalom. There's green cones, red cones, green cones. If you see the red flag, turn around the red cones. If the flag is green, carve around the green cones. Or if it's both flags, then you weave through all of them.
All right.
So what are you gonna do? You got green and red, you're doing both codes. Greens and reds, you're weaving your way all the way through. 25 miles an hour. Good. All right, don't let the people touch you. There you go, time it. Do not let him touch you. Do not let him touch the car. Well done. Woo.
So I've done the track once, totally sober, and now I'm going to take 3 milky, thick bong rips and see if I can drive. Oh, that was a classic bong rip sound. I think I got some bong water on my lips. Oh, oh boy, here it comes. All right, I'm nice and toasty. Let's go drive some cars.
Okay, now go, 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 go. 30, we're at 20. Right now, right down, way down to the end.
My eyes.
Up. Okay, now go, 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 go.
Oh, God.
50 miles an hour. Wait. Oh, God. Wait. Now, brakes now.
Oh, even before it. Ha-ha.
There was a little cheating there. I said, wait now, but you were coasting by then.
But no cones went down.
It's really hard to hit things when you're going 18 miles an hour. I could have walked faster. All right.
Here we go.
Eyes up.
Oh, I'm on my right, moving left, moving to the right. All right, we got a big old turn here.
Ooh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Whoa.
Jesus. Flagman, green. All right, here we go.
What's your color?
Green.
We missed 2 greens.
Okay, got it.
Watch it, people. People. Ah! They're getting in.
Whoa. Ah, got me. Ah. How you doing, officer?
So you're gonna do some tests? I can smell it on you for sure. But.
I think it's like in my pocket, actually. I think I have weed in my pocket.
So put your index fingers pointing out, and then I'm gonna direct you to touch the tip of your nose, left.
Ooh.
Right.
Oh.
It's a fun test.
Anything else?
Let me check your pulse here.
Okay.
All right, so a normal average pulse range shouldn't be more than 60 to 90 beats a minute. Yours is actually 140.
So, whoa, 140?
I can probably count it. It's going so fast.
Damn, this is a situation that makes me very nervous.
Yeah, I can measure. Anyway, based on what I saw, I would place you in arrest for DUI. I think you do have enough in your system that would appear to drive safely.
Well, thanks. Sorry that you couldn't arrest me this time.
Actually, you're under arrest.
I guess I'm sort of tempted to say that the only thing that I was like guilty of was just driving too slowly. You know what I mean? Like I was overwhelmed by the experience, but I wasn't doing like unsafe things.
I was very concerned about the length of time that we went with the lights flashing. Certainly in the slalom, we failed. And the ball coming down the hill, that caught you off guard. If that had been a child, that kid had been dead. When we have some challenge behind the wheel of a car that is not something we have a program for, you have to think about it. You look, think, do, all right? That transition from subconscious to conscious, and in that process, a decision-making, what am I gonna do, and affecting that decision in a reaction, way too slow. It's over. I was nervous. You did not have both oars in the water. Sorry.
But here we are, sitting here, able to talk about it.
Yeah, alive and well.
Driving is this crazy thing where it requires your brain, it requires sort of your unconscious, it requires your body. It requires all these different parts of your human capacity that at times feel like second nature, but are actually the sum of an astonishing number of decisions and actions. It's not all that surprising that law enforcement would try to stop irresponsible behavior, given how open pot use has become. But are they acting in good faith with the tools at their disposal? Or are they just using imperfect methods dressed up as science to confirm long-standing anti-pot biases? What's clear to me is that you can be too stoned to drive, and that it's incumbent upon any reasonable pot smoker to make good decisions before getting behind the wheel. But it's also clear that if you're a pot smoker and you get pulled over, your judgment no longer really matters. And unless better laws are put into place or are litigated into place, that's not going to change even though pot is legal. Stone driving lays bare this essential duality of our early moment of legalization, where the people in power think they can say what being stoned means, but then the people who are getting stoned are saying it actually means something totally different. Unless the people getting stoned become the people in power, the legal implications of being high will always be to punish rather than to understand.